to obey traffic control device, getting back to it here. Number 3 on the list. Obviously, that's going to be a pretty glaring one. So do your best to clean that up. Obviously, sometimes it's situational, like Denny was talking about. So obviously, if you can't help it, the number 1 priority, I think, is to be safe. That's what Dean would want us to say here. Number 2, don't break the law. Coming in at number 2 on the list, we've already touched on it, speeding 6 to 10 miles an hour over. We've got 19 of those violations. Now, to me here, I'll just say that I'm happy to see 6 to 10 miles per hour over the limit at number 2 on the list, and not 11 to 14 or 15 plus at number 2 on the list, because that's a little concerning. But still, we have 19 violations here for 6 to 10 miles an hour over, and it looks like they're not at all shy about pulling a truck over and nailing them for a speeding ticket for even 6 miles an hour over.
Yeah. Well, my rule of thumb was you're pretty much safe at 5. Anything past that, you're pushing your luck. So, if speed limit's 65 and you're doing 70, you're probably okay. But I didn't say that out loud, did
I? Not on a podcast, no. Did you ever get popped for speeding 6 to 10 over?
Nope.
No.
I
always know that that's... I always know that that's the answer, though. You had a pretty stellar record out there, so, hey, good on you for not getting caught. Number 1 on the list, flat tire and or audible air leak. We've got 20 violations here out of a total of 99 that we're discussing here today, so that's a big one. Once again, we already touched on the flat tire thing. You said that that's something you should catch right off the bat when you're doing your pre-trip. How about an audible air leak? I imagine there's different circumstances, depending on where you're at. If you're sitting right outside the truck shop and they're yanking tires or something like that, and they're running really loud equipment, and you've got other trucks driving past you, I can see it being a little hard to hear an air leak, but what are your thoughts here?
Well, if it had been leaking for any measure of time, any amount of time, and you thumped or kicked your tires, you'd notice, because the pressure is going to go down if it's honestly leaking. So again, back to what I said before, it's possible that you picked up a trailer and you didn't catch it in your hurry because you're trying to, swap trailers and do this and get on down the road. So you walk around, you check your lights, you kick the tires, and everything looks good off, on your way. So I could see where you might get, but if I had that trailer in the morning when I started, unless I ran over something again, which there's no way that you can really prevent that. You're going to hit stuff. You're going to run over some, chunk of metal or a screw or something, or maybe there was already a screw in it, but it wasn't leaking and that thing worked loose. But, if you start your day with a good pre-trip and you're dragging the same trailer all day, chances of that happening are pretty slim.
Sure. So I guess it's also okay to say here that the other way that this might happen is you're not paying good attention on your pre-trip. You're not really checking this stuff out as thoroughly as you should be. So spend a couple extra minutes. I mean, tires are tires. Like, they're not that tough to make sure that they're working correctly and that they look okay and that they've got plenty of air in them. So this, once again, I'm kind of glad to see this at this point on the list, because I feel like this is correctable. I feel like this is something that we could easily, by spending a couple more minutes and making sure we're doing good pre and post trips, this probably gets eliminated almost immediately if everybody's on board.
Yep.
Well, there you have it, H&M Trucking. That is your top 10 roadside inspection violations for the last 24 months. We mentioned the CSA score a little bit earlier when we were talking to Brian and Ryan on this episode. We're back to where we need to be, but we have to maintain that. We obviously don't want to get back to mandatory pull-in status, because just the logic of the situation here shows this is over the last 24 months. We were on a mandatory pull-in status for some chunk of that 24 months, which means probably ticked up some violations in places that maybe they wouldn't have normally happened if you'd just gotten lucky and dodged an inspection. But again, this stuff all comes back to your safety and the safety of those around you. And so That's what we're here for, Denny, is just to try to bring this stuff to light, shed a little light on it, and hope that everybody can be a little bit safer. And the less violations we have, the more money we make. Is that is that accurate?
That makes sense because, they ain't turning, you ain't earning. If you're sitting there getting an inspection, it might not be a lot of dollars, but it's dollars.
It's dollars. Absolutely. All right. Well, that'll wrap up this segment, Denny. We're going to let you go. Have a great weekend. And, of course, we'll see you here next week for episode 65, my friend.
Talk to you then. Bye, y'all.